One. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I am Ben. Next to me are Joel and Missy, and below me is Brendan. And today we are here to talk about The Golem and the Jinn by Helene Wecker. After many delays, but we are back on it again, and we'll be ready to resume our normal programming as of now. So
It feels like it's been like 1,000 years since we've done a book review.
It has. It's been like a month.
Yeah.
A full one.
Yeah, it's been a full month, so it's like...
Is it?
Well, I meant like full panel.
That's true.
What was the last one?
He wasn't doing
He didn't do any. You didn't do any Red Rising? That's right, you didn't.
Yeah, it's been even longer for Brendan because he didn't do any of the Red Risings.
Got the full news team.
If I remember correctly, he said, I don't like sci-fi or cool things.
Mm-hmm.
That's absolutely what I said. That's verbatim.
He also said, fuck those guys. Yeah, he said, if it's not about the Ultramarines, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
It's the only truth.
That made you a specific type of nerd and hurt your feelings at the same time.
Yeah, because
which I'm really happy is
you
a
made
layer.
jokes that he's a Blueberry fan. How dare you?
That's like boring corporate nerd. That's like the kid when you were 11 that played Star Wars Episode 1 Racer and would only play as Anakin.
Right.
And I'm out.
Shut up. You like Star Wars. We've got a daughter. We are going to teach her the ways of the Force.
It's a universe of aliens, and you're picking the kid with the helmet. It's like, all right, fine.
The kid with the helmet. Wow.
I'm not gracing him with the title of future Darth Vader. He's the kid with the helmet.
And the Golem and the Jinn.
And with that, let's get into the book.
Just found out that Brendan doesn't like people with special needs or balance problems. Anyway, back to you, Ben. Let's go.
So, The Golem and the Jinn is by Helene Wecker. It's set in roughly, I think it was like 1860s New York City, with some additional locations thrown in. So it's kind of interesting. Basically, it's a union of Jewish and I'm gonna say Islamic folklore or just Middle Eastern folklore.
I would say Islamic as a whole.
Yeah, I guess we did get a little bit of imams and stuff in there, but basically, you take this folklore that's getting brought over from during a time of large amounts of immigration. That sort of it's this culture. It's sort of a highlight of the culture clashes of going on in New York City at the time, where a golem by the name eventually named Chava is brought over by her master, who dies in transit to on the boat on the way to Ellis Island, and she escapes the boat and customs by jumping into the river and making her way into the streets of New York. The book also follows the story of a jinn by the name of Ahmad, who is freed by a hapless tinsmith when he was asked to repair a kettle by one of his customers, and by breaking the markings on this copper kettle, frees the genie from his imprisonment. Then it follows sort of all of the issues that these immortal, so to speak, immortal beings encounter as they attempt to integrate into New York society. They don't tend to understand the humans that are around them. Their journeys sort of are divergent for a long time until eventually they converge upon each other and find sort of a companionship in their
weirdness.
In their weirdness, yes. So as it proceeds, they end up getting pursued to New York by the creator of Chava, who is a disgraced rabbi / Kabbalistic shaman who is in pursuit of more immortality. And eventually, we'll get into the twist later of how you find out how he kind of ties into Ahmad's own story. So I think that kind of wraps everything up. There's a nice little happily ever after ending, and it's a really good book.
Nice. And the baby voice, yay!
Very well done.
It's happily ever after.
No, it's not really. It's
I mean, I would say so. They like Ahmad doesn't necessarily get his freedom, but he's free from getting pursued by the shaman, and it's.
I really was hoping that would happen, though.
That he'd get free. Well, there is another book in the series, but so maybe things do happen, but.
So yeah, well, I feel like this. It's not a second. Like this isn't like a cliffhanger series. I feel like this book wraps itself up nicely, so that you don't have to read the second book. But
well, and the summary for the second book says it takes place around like the time of World War I.
Oh, so it's like 60 years later or 80 years later.
Yeah. And they're still alive and kicking and just and
it's still trying to figure, like, they don't have any resolution. Like, they're not, like, in love. Like, are they capable of love? Like, that's, like, the story of this is, like, you know, two literally non-human beings, right? Entities that transcend these, like, human feelings, these human emotions, trying to navigate this world. And so we had, like, when Joel and I first started dating, I tried to get him to read this book called Brooklyn, and it was like he still hasn't.
I read like 20 pages, and it was too intelligent for me. It used big words.
Well, and so what I called it was quietly beautiful, and I would say the same thing about this. Right, this is a story. There is a plot, but ultimately you're invested in whether or not these things, right, the Golem, the Jinn, whether they can internalize these emotions, these social constructs, and learn to navigate the world. And so it's a really quietly beautiful book. The narrator is lovely. He is, so hypothetically, someone didn't tell me that we were skipping or we were a week behind because everyone was sick. So hypothetically, I was listening to it at like 1.2 speed, trying to make sure that I finished it by last week.
Sound correct.
But
that's what we all do.
Yeah.
That sounds made up.
Hypothetically, and then I was told that was not the case. So then I went back to normal speed. Like, the narrator was lovely, but he was very calm. And sometimes that calmness can make it hard to get into.
There were definitely times where I like spaced out and had to like rewind and like listen to a part again because I realized that I like tuned it out because it was such that calming tone. But overall, like, the VA for this was like amazing. Like, you could tell like every single character had their own voice. Like, I didn't have any time where I was like, I have no idea who is speaking right now.
Yeah.
I loved the way it felt. And like, I was invested in these characters. I loved the journey that Chava took from being awoken to like overwhelmed by people's voices, by the wants and needs, to being able to figure herself out. Like, I loved the journey.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because it seems like the Golem, like Chava, was just wake up and she's just happy to be anywhere, to do anything.
Well,
like, she was like, oh my God, a person, and we're doing a person thing. This is the best day ever. Like, just thrilled to be part of something. And when Ahmad came out, he seemed the opposite. Like, oh, this is what we're doing.
Well, because like before his servitude, he could go anywhere, be anything,
right, and he
create whatever he wanted. Yeah.
Well, that's the anger, right?
Yeah.
There's underlying sense of anger, whereas she's innocent. You have these two characters who are a foil of each other. They're both the same thing. They're going the same path, but they're going at it two different ways. And so, when you learn later that, some, like, when she finds essentially like her recipe on what she was created to be, she comes to that realization that's like, oh, when he would push me and say, well, why do you feel this way? That's why, right? Like, I was created to be this, to be helpful, whereas he wasn't created to have that role or do anything like that. He's more of, he has his own autonomy.
Right. So I almost think it's the position of someone. So it's it's Chava, who's never not had a master, so to speak, versus Ahmad, who's never been a slave, so to speak. Like has always had full freedom versus someone who's always been bound to something.
Well, she wasn't bound. She was kind of like unofficially bound to everybody.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah. But it's funny. It is about a creature that is desire to only be around people and used for certain fashions to another one that's its own desires.
Yeah.
And watch these two come through and discover what it is to be a person. And this, in my mind, historically speaking, was probably one of the most difficult times in New York City. The everything, like, it's still, even though it's been around for about 100 years at this time, it's still figuring out what it is. The city's growing dramatically.
The disease was rampant. Like they
find themselves.
Yeah, disease was rampant. They made frequent like references to like, oh, someone gets the flu and then an entire building gets put under quarantine. Like,
right. I mean, prostitutes are throwing mattresses on the roof to go at it when the warmer.
Yeah, because it got too hot.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a cinephile you guys also are. I know I am. And Gangs in New York, Martin Scorsese. That movie takes place during draft riots for the Civil War, and this is within a generation of that, or even closer. So you still have very different groups based on ideology, based on nationality, that are all crammed next to each other in very confined spaces. I feel like the allegory towards both protagonists being immigrants to the United States, I'm not gonna say it was obvious. It was overt, but it was done very well. I thought it was very rare. Modern fantasy, I'll call it modern just because there's the modern sensibilities of civilization in America and stuff. But modern fantasy, I've never really seen it where fantastic beings go out of their way so much to be human. You see a lot of cases, even in books we've already read, where there's glamours to hide them from the material world, or
the hiding in plain sight versus like actually trying to hide your nature. Yeah, or forcing the mundane humanity to serve you, like secret vampire cabals and everything. This is completely opposite.
She talks about that at the end, right? Yeah. Where she's like, I could do this. I could use these spells. I could, but and you also see, like, it's part of like the nature versus nurture, debate, right? Because she was created to be this powerful being, but had the rabbi not found her, what path would she have taken, right? She was made in the image that was like, the sugar and spice and everything nice, but also he shaped her, right? Yeah. And so she is who she is and has internal dialogues because of him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. Like who came to, like, it also wonders, like, if Ahmad came to somebody different other than, Arbili just happened to do the thing that
Ahmad liked doing
naturally to Ahmad, and
I think there's one thing that, like, with Chava was able to, like, sort of, like, prevent her sort of, like allow her to be able to sort of, like, learn and grow and stuff, and it's because it wasn't really, it's not a very long part of the book, but, like, the whole point was, like, there was this young bachelor furniture maker that was, like, unable to, like, basically find a match.
The very beginning.
Yeah, find a wife.
Because he was a weirdo.
Yeah, because he was weird.
He was really weird.
Yeah. And so he goes to this, like, random, like, dirty magician dude in the middle of nowhere to, like, try and...
I think he was, like, it was, like, a well-known, kind of like the classic stories of, like, the witch in the woods.
Yeah, he went to this crazy wizard in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, everybody knew he was there. You only go there in high desperation times. Yeah. And
basically, like, the guy... So the normal, like, the shaman dude is like, well, normally, he's like, what kind of personality do you want this lady to have? And he's like, instead of, like, being like, oh, I want her to be, like, sultry, or I want her to be, like, horny all the time, he was like, I want her to be curious. And the guy's like, what?
Yeah.
And you could, like they said a couple times like this, like she will either be my greatest, creation or like destroy everything. Like, they're like based on what that recipe was. Like,
Yeah.
it is interesting.
Yeah.
It's a really fascinating angle to make the golem female. I've read stories of the golem where, in the wet clay, you spell the Hebrew character for life on the forehead.
Well, and normally it's also a featureless colossus.
Yeah, it's featureless, or it led to the trope in RPGs and game fiction and literary fiction, where the golem is either agender or just has a masculine hulking frame. So it was very,
or just a faceless worker that's
right. Yeah.
This world where you can you can rent them for the day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Completely neuter. It could be just an automaton or
right.
The appearance of a male. It was fascinating to me that Chava was presented as a female golem. It's something I'd never seen before.
Right, I haven't seen that. One thing I did like is one of my more favorite plot points, because I feel it gives you a lot of versatility. Is that kind of like witch in the woods, wizard in the cave, old man on the mountain, like all of those tropes of like a secret recluse with a lot of power that does spells and you shouldn't talk to him. Like, I love those tropes. Like, I like how this one was used. Like,
and he stayed evil.
Yeah.
Right. Like sometimes they're like the heart of gold, or they're misunderstood.
Sometimes they have like a redeemable quality. No, this guy was just like pure, like undistilled, like evil.
It was the funniest way too. Like, most of them have like a descent into evil or something like that. Like, no,
he's already there.
Yeah. He's like, I had a dream where I'm not going to go to heaven, so fuck it. And you're like, and so he 100% just didn't even question that it was a dream. Mm-hmm. Didn't question it at all. Was just like, all right, we're taking the left path all day, every day for the rest of my life.
Can we go into spoilers?
Oh, this whole thing is about spoilers. We didn't announce it because we forgot, but
This is the spoiler warning right here.
Yeah.
I like the end, right? Like where you find like essentially like that he's just been reincarnated for 1,000 years,
and he's a bag of dicks each time.
Every
fucking time.
Like. And this is
it's like he's always drawn to mysticism, and then he immediately always goes into like the dark sides of it in search of mortality, like
without missing a beat.
But you get back, so as you think about it though, like to go back to the Jinn, is he didn't 1,000 years has passed, right, since his servitude. Right. He doesn't remember it, right? Because immediately after.
Oh, I loved that. The finding it out. Yeah.
Like, he's bound, he's gone. Like he's in the thing, and
because he spent this whole time worrying that he had spent
the best. That was the best. Like, he didn't fully kill that guy. The guy stabbed him in the guts, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm in the middle of nowhere," and he had just achieved immortality, but then he didn't remember it.
Yeah,
that's what made it so fun, is that he spends the next millennia looking for a path to immortality, and he already fucking has it.
Yeah,
he's already gotten it, and he has no idea. But he's just reincarnated constantly, and
then at the end, where once he remembers, he hears all the voices. Right, he hears the past lives. I think that's really fascinating because it's all at once, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Where it's almost schizophrenic, but they're real.
And they're all trying to fight their way to the surface. Yeah.
That's kind of poetic. Like, you think if you're going to live forever, to do it as a dribbling,
Well, that's the scary part, is at that point, he's basically become the most dangerous person, because he has access to all of the knowledge of all of the, basically all the esoteric.
Every major religion.
All the not every religion. He's basically he went everywhere from being a Hindu shaman to or a Hindu guru to a Tibetan monk to a Catholic priest to a Native American shaman to Celtic druid and everything in between. Like,
yeah.
Well, and like that's why, like, his papers, like, I get it. He, like, it's hard for him. He can't remember everything, but like those papers are useless, right? Like his spells, like there's some things like it, like there's moments that it feels like they're just plot drivers, right? Michael, not really anything, right? Like he's just an entity of a human that's maybe
he could have been random human number one.
There's no
husband material number one.
Him, but like other than he provided the plot point for her, for her to not have those feelings,
to discover that she can't live her life as just like the obedient wife.
Yeah, I do like the fact, like, my favorite parts of the book is these characters who are so much more powerful than normal, and trying to assimilate, and like when she realizes she needs somebody to watch over her, like external morality is what she needs. She's like, I'll go to Michael, we'll get married. And then she
just like shows up on the front steps, completely disheveled, assumedly still half naked, and she's like, will you marry me? And he's like, yes.
But then she's got the struggle of like, how do I hide that I didn't eat today? How do I hide that I didn't sleep tonight? You know, and like her struggles of laying in the bed until she can't stand it anymore.
Well, she did the insomnia thing for weeks, and then he finally was like, you have to go to a doctor. And she's like, but the doctor's going to realize something's wrong.
Yeah, the doctor's going to realize I'm made of clay.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I got a lot of questions. I understand that there's a healthy dose of like magic in there, but I got a lot of questions on like how you don't know your wife is made of clay.
Yeah.
Especially
since it's established that they did the dirty.
Yeah. Right? That's the assumption, is that they had to go to town once. Like, there's a lot of thoughts. Like,
no, they did, and she like had a clit. Like
she tried to pleasure herself, and then he got embarrassed by it.
Say she had a clit.
Yes.
There's a point where she was like, she tried to bring some pleasure to herself into it, and then he was like, he got embarrassed, and then she stopped.
He's like, stop getting off, woman. This is 1860.
And then he tried to do it one time, and then she was like, no, I can't, because you're just gonna get embarrassed about it.
Yeah, he tried to do it, and she was like, no, like that was like that one moment. So like, I just like, out of all of it, this is the part that's like the most disbelief for me. Is like, how do you not know your wife is clay? Like,
I'm 90% certain that you're not. So
I think that's a high odds.
Well, because I mean, there's like obviously there's magic going on.
But the thing is like,
wave it away.
If Ahmad was able to look right at her and be like, made of clay, really don't think
that was because like
he just walked by her and he's like, I saw a clay lady today. It's got to be pretty obvious if you're inside of somebody.
Because the whole thing was like, for all intents and purposes, I'm drawing conclusions that she looks and feels like a regular person, but Ahmad's able to have see like into like her aura or spirit self and see past the illusion.
Because she sees fire too, right? They can see sees like. They know that they're not the same.
I was going to say that we can assume Ben can't tell the difference between clay and people now. The slow blink on Ben's face is
slow blink.
Sometimes I hate you.
It almost stinks that I have to say this, but it was such a.
You can't tell the difference between clay and people either.
It's two of us. It's two of us. This is a beautiful story about coexistence between two faith groups that you don't really see a lot of that happening in media.
Yeah.
The author of this book is Jewish, and her husband is Arab, and
that's interesting because one of the things that I kept wondering is in the dance. That was a Jewish dance hall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she brought a Syrian dude in.
Brought a guy, and it's not like he didn't like. Ahmad is a That's
like full on Bedouin looking dude. Like,
that's a name that you are. They're not going to temple. Like they gotta, and nobody said anything. And and it kind of wonder like. Is that wishful thinking, or is that reminiscent of the time back then? I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think it's
and what was the other? What was the other part? I don't. It wasn't called like we're the Jewish section of the town. Like I don't think it.
They just called it like the Jewish district or whatever.
Yeah. Like the other one was called Little Syria, and then
Yeah. But
nobody raised an eyebrow that Chava, who is obviously supposed to be Jewish. Mm-hmm. And Ahmad, who is obviously not.
Well, people did question it, and we're trying to figure. People did question it. We're trying to figure out what the hell was going on because, like, Anna was like, "How the hell do you know about this guy? Like, you never do anything but go to work." And like everyone was questioning it, but then the whole pummeling happened that was projected from a fucking mile away. I was as soon as like Anna's whole story is, we're gonna go move to Ohio and get married. I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Anna just like she's another one that was like a plot device, right?
She was desperate random woman number one.
Yeah, but it was funny because like all of a sudden she was just like, oh, she almost died, gone.
Yeah,
and then like enter back in blackmail.
Oh
you're like, what? Like, and then you're like,
how do we go? How do we go from like this person who's my friend to like I'm gonna blackmail this bitch? Like,
in all honesty, that's how actual life goes on. Yeah. Like something bad happens. How often do you sit there and slowly exit the scene? You don't. You just disappear. Like if all of a sudden somebody comes in and just you did some crazy shit, you're not gonna be like, well, I need to wean myself off of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was very sudden, and in what you would imagine when you're living in a huge population center. I don't know what the population of New York City was in 1860. I'm assuming it was a lot.
It was booming at the time as well. Because gangs in New York is like 1864. And so you have Tammany Hall, so you have local political groups vying for power. You have... there's still flagrant racial riots going on and stuff.
There's
not a lot of
side note. I love the Irish gangster that just like protects Ahmad, no question, so he can get away from Shulman.
The first thing I thought of was the dead rabbits in Gangs of New York.
Yeah,
and just figured it was.
He's like
Aprio or showing up.
He's like literally just like Ahmad looked at him and he's like, this man is a murderer and I know it, just get him off my tail, please. And then he's like, got it, I've got to deal with the constables. Just like
that's the
he's like, go laddie while you still can before the fuzz shows up.
That's the reasoning that I had for the sudden blackmail attempt. People were bitterly poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People were very, very poor. And
$100 back then was a lot of.
But also, she was pregnant, single.
Yeah.
Like,
and the baby daddy was not coming back anytime soon.
Like, there wasn't anything for her to do. Like, that desperation is real.
Yeah, that window had closed hard on that, and because of the sensibilities of the time, nobody's hiring her.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your options at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Your
options would have had to do that.
Yeah. Your options are the Salvation Army.
Well, it sounds like the only thing
for adoption. Yeah.
Sounds like the only thing she had going on was she was going to the only like income she had at the time was like taking in the washing for some people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which that's not making ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, in she like I don't know, but like again, like she's at the end, Anna and Chava are still friends, right?
Yeah.
Like they're still having that, like, you know, that
I forget, like they did kind of like make amends, and Chava helped out Anna. I forgot about that. That was very short. Like there was like one paragraph at the very end of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed the book quite a bit. I did enjoy. It was very, very rich in the way. Like it was not a book that you could just turn on.
No,
it's not a book you could just throw in your headphones and listen to.
Yeah, it was no Iron Druid. It was like.
Yeah, you need to not pay attention.
Yeah, it was like very much like there was a lot going on. There was a lot of the story was told via like the set piece and like character interaction.
Very, very. Yeah. It was a excellent use of.
I mean, for like, I feel like a third of the book was just like Ahmad wandering the city and like basically like having an internal monologue about like the sights he was seeing. Like that was like a full third of the book.
There was a part of it that I thought was hilarious. Like, you have we both have raised the boy, and as they're like doing the bravery thing that's not really a threat, but they think it's a threat,
Oh yeah.
And so I found like a little bit of childishness in the point where like Ahmad would go, the Jinn would go
to like the bad part of town.
No, he'd go to the aquarium.
Yeah, he'd go to the aquarium like all the time.
Like feel brave as he's like surrounded by water, and he's like, if anything goes wrong, I would die instantly. Like,
well, no, because the whole thing was like he could just reach out
for the first time,
Yeah, because he could just like reach out and melt the glass and kill himself.
Right.
Yeah. So. I think that was what was a really interesting thing about this book was like, especially with the voice actor.
He was still, I know we said it already, he was so good.
Was like, I felt like he did the accents like really well without feeling like he was doing like a caricature. Like sometimes like we'll like pull a dumb accent out of our ass and it's just like, oh, why do you sound like the Lucky, like we'll do an Irish accent and like, why do you sound like the Lucky Charms leprechaun? Like, but it wasn't, but like the VA did like a really good job of like, I feel like paying homage to those like those dialects and accents without being like,
I was discussing with Ben as we were getting our notes together. The Audio Publishers Association is what releases the Audies every year. Apparently, there's an award for excellence in audio presentation, and this was a finalist. I believe it was 2014. Mm-hmm. So. If it's good enough that they were, it was considered for an award, I kind of feel bad flying through the PDF to catch up to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like I planned on finishing it while I had downtime at work, and the entirety of last week was garbage. So I actually, if it wasn't for Missy letting me listen to the end of the book, I would have been an hour short. Uh-huh. So I wrapped it up by writing on Mother's Day with her and hearing the end of the story and getting up to it in my side. So
yeah, we didn't talk about the doctor. Oh
my God, the saddest person in the story.
My gosh. So basically,
didn't really serve a lot of a purpose. Like the Golem and the Jinni could have continued without him, but
no, wouldn't have. Because he's the one that saves the day at the end. Because he's like,
yeah, but there's no reason. What I'm saying is like, if they would have put him with anything else, it would have been fine. But yeah, the doctor was so humbling of a story. Like he was this doctor of like note. He was brilliant. He did all this great stuff, and then all of a sudden he saves this person when he's like, oh, folk medicine, that's dumb. And then, bam! Next thing you know, he can't look at people's faces. He's possessed by something.
He gets possessed by a shard of a genie.
Wasn't it Ahmad too?
No, it was not Ahmad. Ahmad looks at him and is able to tell him, he's like, "Oh, you've got a piece of fire inside of you," basically.
Yeah, like he said, he did make the distinction. It was not a big piece. It was an ifrit or an imp or something. Yeah.
Was it Salah?
Salah.
Yeah. Salah.
Okay. Ice cream Salah. So this guy, he gets possessed by. So he's this doctor of note in Syria who went and studied medicine in Egypt and learned all these like actual remedies for was brought medicine to like his like Syrian village and was doing a lot of good work. Goes and tries to save a girl who had been unknown to him, had been possessed by an Ifrit. And in his effort to do his examination, the Ifrit, basically, when he looked in the girl's eyes, jumped into his mind or whatever, or body.
Not all of it, just enough to drive him nuts.
Yeah. And, just enough to drive him nuts. And he basically can no longer look into people's eyes without being paralyzed with fear or violently ill. He's prone to random seizures and amongst a couple other things. So he's no longer able to practice medicine, and his life falls apart. His wife dies young. Eventually, her daughter dies in childbirth, and not all because he couldn't practice medicine anymore. He probably would have been able to save them. And so then he decides, all right, I'm going to go to the U.S. to die so that I'm not a burden on my community anymore.
Yeah. And instead he goes there and is great at making ice cream and everybody loves him.
Yeah.
And they're all and then Miriam Fadul, who is
adopted him.
Yeah, she's this local, good-hearted busybody.
Community leader,
Yeah, but she's really a local, good-hearted busybody. Mm-hmm. It sounds like she's the one that is very.
She's the match. It's she's you have these small communities, and there's always that one person that knows everybody, everybody's business.
Yeah, one of those.
But is also really good-hearted about it. She's she's plays matchmaker and helps people with business opportunities, and basically is trying to help the community.
Community meddler.
Right.
Yeah. So, we all know that one.
Yeah.
You need to meet John over there. He's got a daughter about your age. And you're stop it, lady. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't mean it in a mean way. They do it because they're trying to legitimately help. The problem is they think their way is the only way.
Right. So
one thing I found was really funny is everybody liked Ahmad. And then
except her.
No, she liked him in the beginning too. As soon as
because he was making eyes. It's because he was making eyes at the bride. He went. He was forced to go to a wedding, a wedding in this little Syria, and he didn't want to be there and had to be there for the whole thing.
The bride or something?
No, he just made eye. He was just eye banging her.
It was a superficial.
He does like to swing meat.
Yeah,
it was a superficial interest at first.
And then he left early without paying respects to the family. So it was
yeah. So that I remember that. Yeah, she did. She didn't like it after that.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
The one thing that I found funny is, and maybe it is a sign of the times, a sign of, there's a lot more superstition back then than it is now. Because when they're this person's a golem, they're holy shit. Everybody's what? Really? Couple notes, they're golem, and everybody's yeah, absolutely, they're golem. I read it in somebody's notes. And the genie, the little boy's he's a genie. And they're oh my god, really?
It's how long have you known? A long time.
Right. And they're oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, if one of you guys comes to me and is hey, by the way, and I know both of you well and trust both of you, so if you say something, I'm probably going to assume that you're.
By the way, I'm a wizard.
Yeah, if you come up and be I need some fucking proof. I'll be do something wizardy, Ben.
Yeah.
Have you finished the demonology yet?
Yeah. Not yet. I haven't started it.
He'll be a wizard in a few days. There it is. In a few days, he'll be a wizard.
Oh, all right. Is that the book we gave you?
No, that's right here as well. This is the Demonology of King James.
Never actually did.
Yeah.
We've been talking for weeks about the fact that everyone talks about the King James Bible. Not enough people talk about his book on demons and necromancy.
Yeah.
And Ben's you know what? I was going to buy it.
It was $20 for three books.
Sometimes you got to be excited when... It's funny you say that, because one of my favorite tropes also in a story is the guy that knows what's really going on.
Yeah.
And particularly my favorite are the religious groups that are yeah, we are the reason you don't see vampires. That crappy Van Helsing movie, which I know was terrible, but I'll fucking watch the shit out of it.
Well, it's like in Iron Druid when the Cabal showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. The Cabal showed up and they're in that one. Van Helsing, where the church is like secretly all monster hunters. And you're like, oh, this is great.
With Hugh Jackman with the automatic crossbow.
Hugh Jackman with all his ridiculous stuff that was like
such a good movie.
Buckle hat, and then Faramir from Lord of the Rings is like his drunk priest buddy.
Or like the what is it, I Frankenstein, where like it was fucking garbage. The stories are garbage, but they're so fun. Like it was like the movies were they're so kitschy, but like it's a fun plot point, you know.
Yeah. Which is funny because we didn't talk about the rabbi.
No, we didn't.
But that's what we're saying is it's like the rabbi, who had 90 names, but we're calling him Joseph. Joseph Salmon?
All right, so are you talking about Yehuda Shalman, or are we talking about like the rabbi?
The same one. They're all the same fucking guy.
No, there's a different the good rabbi or the bad rabbi.
He's not talking about the recurring semi-immortal evil dude. You're talking about the other one.
The rabbi.
The good rabbi. The good rabbi.
Who also happens to know a whole bunch of like mysticism.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
And apparently every rabbi in that
sick magic stuff.
So if Madonna knows about the Kabbalah, I'm pretty sure like any rabbi at least has a passing conversational knowledge about it. That was my thing. I was like, it's Jewish.
That's what you were going to throw in there? I'm going to say...
I figured he would at least have something to say.
I have a fair bit of doubt of the depth of Madonna's Kabbalistic knowledge. Like I'm just
saying, if she can have a conversation about it or claims to know it, I guarantee you a rabbi would have more.
Kabbalah tattoo improperly tattooed on her body. So, I mean, like, I doubt. I'm just going to say knowing the word Kabbalah and knowing the secret of it probably radically different.
What I know about it is random flashes of iconography in Neon Genesis Evangelion. So, other than anime references, I'm pretty sure Madonna knows more than me. So,
what I know of from in the Iron Druid is they give you magic eating beards. So, the beards eat and nullify all magic. So there you go.
Yeah. So it was we didn't really touch on it, but there's basically the only reason Chava doesn't go on an insane rampage at the beginning is because
Joel's going off.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Finish, and then I'll go on my rant.
She is spotted by an old rabbi who's like, "Is that what I think it is?" And then he like said
it too, right? Like that.
Basically.
All right. Nice. I just.
And then he like tracks her down right when she because she comes across. So right when she's like gets to New York, she's like driven by all like the wants and needs of like everybody she's facing, and she encounters a starving child, and like immediately like who's like staring at some dude's sandwich, and she immediately like snatches the dude's sandwich from the guy and hands it to the kid, and all the people around him are about to like arrest her and like basically like fucking lynch her for stealing the dude's sandwich. Yes, and then the rabbi shows up. He's like, "I'm sorry, she's new. She doesn't understand the traditions here," or something like that, and saves her. And then he he knows how to destroy her, but he also like starts to try to integrate her into like this to the Jewish society. So he finds her a job. He introduces her to like some people, and like basically is her only friend.
Also, he fucking noticed her as she's walking around stealing kniches for everybody. Mm-hmm. He's like, as she snatches and gives it to a kid, he's like, Golem. But the Golem's husband, who is balls deep in her, is like, this is definitely not a Golem. Like, he had no clue. And
he's sort of like established as being like...
Perhaps the lights were off. I don't know.
Yeah. That's what it is. Thank you. That cleared it all up.
He's sort of like...
the same.
I feel like Michael is like established as being like so up in his like own head all the time that he doesn't notice jack shit until it's like spelled out for him in his uncle's notes, who's basically like, "She's a golem and I named her Chava," and he's like, "What?"
He's like, I had no idea I was boning a golem.
Yeah.
Weird, but
and then all of a sudden, like all the dots connect. She's like, oh shit.
It's just, I mean, like, there's a couple suspension of disbelief points, and again, as far as I can tell from this bit of the story, like, whatever, like, if just because Michael couldn't tell that his wife was a golem, and everybody else apparently can do it at a passing glance, like,
well, it's not that everybody else can. It's the people that are like have the knowledge, so to speak, like of things to look for, or like because it's established that the rabbi has like some like of that Kabbalah knowledge or whatever. He was taught by his rabbi.
Yeah, back when rabbi school was way cooler.
Yeah, right. It's like,
all right,
and now it's your final lesson. I will teach you how to make a golem. And then he like makes a golem, and then he commands the golem to kill a spider, and then the golem won't stop killing the spider, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
There's a show called Russian Doll on Netflix right now, and it centers around mysticism around one Jewish woman's life. As she goes to her friend's birthday party in what used to be an old rabbinical school.
Yeah, she keeps reliving the same night, right?
Yeah, and it has this vague Jewish mysticism about it. It's a very New York show, but I didn't
get past like the second. I don't think I got past the first episode on. Is that worth a watch?
I supremely enjoyed the finale.
Okay,
I thought it was a very whip smart show. I think Tina Fey helped produce it. And Natasha Leone, I think is her name, is hilarious. She's the blind hacker chick in Blade Trinity.
She's also like the lesbian in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah,
one of the lesbians in Orange is the New Black.
That was one of her breakout shows, but I got a lot of
she's great actress. I enjoy her stuff. It was just like there was a lot of dying over and over and over again, and I was like, some of those like Groundhog Day type shows, like I can't get into for some reason. So,
which one was it?
Russian Doll.
No,
it's very Gen X humor.
Oh yeah,
and it's very.
So you'll probably love it, Joel.
I see what you did there.
I'm serious though. She makes references to like Barry Manilow and Sophie's Choice, and just like completely out of left field. Like, I thought it was great. But yeah, I sort of saw parallels to that. I got a little twang of Total Recall when they're talking about designing the perfect golem.
Yeah.
Like Schwarzenegger is like designing the perfect woman in his fantasy. It's like sleazy, demure, and he's like, Billy the perfect person and everything. There are a lot of little nods in this that I felt. But it was a supremely unique book. It was there's so many positive creative choices in this I had never seen before.
Yeah, there's another. I'll have to ask my other sister about it because this was a recommendation by my sister Hannah, which I'll remind her. Let her know when the episode goes live.
Tell her she did awesome.
Yeah, and there's another book I read that was also like, for some reason a lot of authors like to like do this like immortal trapped in New York sort of scenario.
I mean, if you're going to be an immortal trap somewhere, New York's probably going to be the most entertaining.
Yeah. So the other one, there's another one I read where it was a dude who was like an Irish. He wasn't a druid, but he was like an Irish, like the child of a like Irish chief who gets like blessed, or he like basically makes a fey deal, and he gets like given immortality so he can basically pursue a blood oath against like some other chieftain who like who is also immortal, that goes to New York. So he like spends a bunch of time, like he ends up going to New York in pursuit of the guy, and then in like early on, and then he basically like lives his entire like immortal life in New York until like present day. So it's sort of like this is what New York was like when it was just like a little settlement all the way up till like modern day stuff.
There was a TV show called New Amsterdam about like a 600-year-old guy living in New York City.
Yeah. Because
he was dying, and he was saved by Native Americans, and they enacted a ritual upon him so that he wouldn't die. and he was like he was there when it was still owned by the Dutch.
That's 3.
Yeah. It was called, and it was a colony before it was New York City. It was New Amsterdam, and that's why the flag of New York City is blue, white, and orange because it used to be a Dutch colony.
Yeah.
So this is recurring stuff, man. You hear it again and again.
Yeah. So he's like this Irish dude that like was pursuing an English lord that had like killed his entire village in Ireland or whatever, and then like his whole thing was he couldn't die until he like killed the dude or something, or ended the guy's line or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was.
I like those stories. Yeah. I do. Well, because it's like. What I like about this, I don't know if it would qualify.
Well, because usually with these types of stories, they get like really into that nitty gritty, like historical, like what's going on. Like, it's really cool.
Well, what makes them neat is like for people like myself, who I like high fantasy, I like sci-fi, I like the mystery of like what's underneath. It's like nothing is cool. Like I don't know how to classify this. This feels like it should be an urban fantasy. But I don't know where it goes, but like...
I'd put it at urban fantasy.
A little bit, huh?
I'd put it at an urban fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like...
light urban fantasy, because like...
It's like highbrow urban fantasy.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you get the stories of like, life isn't just as boring as you see. Like, I want a world where like, you study enough, you could, throw lightning bolts around, or... Yeah. You can like summon a dragon, or like there's somebody out there who's been around for 4,000 years because he mixed a bunch of shit together, created the, Philosopher's Stone or whatever. I like the stories of Tyr and and, Asgard and all of that shit. The worlds that exist next to our world. I think those are great. But the likelihood of me finding one is very, very slim. I would go so far as to say 0. So we have to escape into stories where somebody does.
Yeah.
And this does that. Like this world where everybody's like, what about, I got to worry about making money. I got to worry about this. That dude's made a fire over there. Like, holy fuck. Like the guy, like people struggling, and then they come up to something unique. And it was interesting.
And I'm sorry to anyone listening to this if you're like if you're planning on reading it. We jumped around a lot. It's just like this was,
as we always do.
This was a really long book. This was a really big book compared to what we've been doing for a while, and it was very, very dense. So there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of things that happen, and it's just I almost think I would highly recommend this book. It was really good.
I would love
different from other books that we've other done. And sorry, what were you saying, Joel?
Nothing. I would love to try to reach out and try to see if she could come on the show and
give it a shot.
This is a very. I'm gonna reach out, try to find her. I really enjoyed this process. It felt that I don't usually get really connected to characters.
Right.
And I get really connected to these characters. Like these characters, you're like, yeah. Like the Iron Druid Chronicles, I read the entire thing in like the space of 2 months.
Yeah.
Like that's 10 books. And I don't think I got connected to one character, and it was the Morgan, the god of death. And I was like, she's awesome. Like I loved her. But the rest
and the dog.
Kind of like, whatever.
And the dog.
Yeah, the dog. Oberon.
Oberon, the Morrigan,
and obviously the main character, but yeah.
Yeah.
And the Apprentice was pretty solid too.
Yeah, but it was this one I really got connected to most of them. Like even by the time the rabbi died, you're like a quarter of the way into the book, maybe halfway into the book, and you feel it. You're like, oh my god, and you feel the fact like this is a time where like there was a hard gender divide. Like women did not go to the seminary, the cemetery. Women did not go to the services, and so like she's there. The only person that mattered to her died, and you're feeling it. Like you feel like in your gut.
Well,
like,
and then she's like trying to like pay her respects, and these like dudes don't like these like rabbis that don't, like won't even like let her pay her respects or whatever. And like I know that's like the whole ceremony or whatever, but like you can't tell me no one in the building had seen her like spend time with the rabbi
Right.
And all of a sudden she's like, oh, why was she with him alone? He was like, was she like, basically everyone was like, she's obviously a prostitute. There's no other thing that this could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no possible any other way. It had to be. She's a whore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, phenomenal book though.
Yeah.
Like
but I like how by the time Michael's funeral happens, Michael gets killed by Yehuda Shaman, by the way. But
what you get means nothing.
And, and she basically goes, "Fuck you! I'm going to the funeral anyway." So, yeah, it's really solid book. Highly recommend. A little different from what we normally read, but overall, really great book.
Yeah, very good, very good.
It's Missy's pick next. Yeah, it's Missy's pick next, which she sent to us.
Legendborn
is Legendborn.
Yeah,
by
join us as we figure out
by Tracy Dion and narrated by Janice Abbott Pratt. It's free on Scribd, and she picked a 19-hour book.
Nice.
So we're back to the long ones, boys.
I've heard of this one. This one actually is supposed to be really, really good.
Gotta prep for this one.
New York Times bestseller, winner of the Coretta Scott King for New Talent author.
Oh wow.
Filled with mystery and an intriguingly rich magic system, Tracy Dion's YA contemporary fantasy reinvents the King Arthur legend.
That means get prepared, Ben. It's going to be a 700-year-old wizard dicking down a newly
braids together Southern folk traditions and black girl magic into a searing modern tale of grief, power, and self-discovery.
There you go.
Oh boy.
Yep, there's a lot of humping in that one.
All right. So with that, the other announcement is this Thursday. We will be delving
hasta jueves
into the world of Thylea under the DM leadership of Will himself. And we have got all kinds of new characters. We're really excited about it.
Mine is a mute.
Little sad I had to kind of put Candlekeep on hiatus, but it's going to be a great time. We're really excited. So please tune in and join us for that. But other than that, Monday, what's our next Norse myth? You typed it out to me.
I do not. Let me think. We are on Nalfagar is what it is.
Nilfgaard.
Yeah.
I love these because they're all new to me.
Yeah.
It is a ship. It is the Norse ship that carries the undead from hell to Ragnarok, and it is made of air.
It's made of what?
Air and toenails.
Ew.
When they grow. So not just Nalfagar, but it's going to be of all the fuck parts of the story. Like that and the god made of spit and, stuff like that you're going to be like, what the hell were they thinking?
Okay.
So Norse weird is
we're going to be talking to some Norse weird myth about a ship that's made out of hair and toenails.
And a guy made out of spit.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you again on Thursday.
If it interests you.